Good evening, cheeseheads, and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast, Euro 2020, even though it's 2021 edition. Joining me this evening, all the way from up north in Stoke, is Seb. How are you, Seb? You all right?
I'm all right. Yeah, I've had a good day, obviously, with England. Found out something interesting today, which is my wife's ideal. I was going to say ideal England player, but actually probably ideal man would be called Dominic Calvin Phillips. Make of that what you will.
Where's that come from then? Tell me the story.
So Calvin Phillips was on at the start. Who's that? Who's that with the hair? Oh, that's Calvin Phillips. Oh, I like him. And then right at the end of the game, obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin came on. Who's that? Him? With the hair. I was like, that's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But my son got confused and called him Dominic Calvin Phillips. So so fair play.
Beautiful. HG, got any funny anecdote? Who's your wife fancying? What's going on? Good evening, by the way.
Yeah, good evening. I hope she still fancies me. When it comes to footballers, yeah, she hasn't seen a match in a while, but she always thought that Jan Vertonghen was called Jan the Tongan, which was always funny. But, she's like, why do they keep on calling him the Tongan? Like, no one else has their nationality said. No. Vertonghen. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I suppose he could be from Tonga. Enjoy the weather. Is it basking in Austria like it is over here today?
Yeah, it's pretty nice today. Absolutely. So, yeah, we can't complain. Austria won. Like there were cheers in the neighbourhood when the Austria goals went in. So you knew that, yeah, you knew that obviously things were going well, and it was a good day.
Well, coming on to that, Austria, a 3-1 win versus North Macedonia, which I didn't even know was a country until this week. I've never heard of North Macedonia. I thought it was just Macedonia, and the greedy bastards have got two countries, North and regular Macedonia.
No.
No,
Stop,
no.
Owen, stop.
Oh, it's all
So
Macedonia.
yeah,
No.
they used to be called the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, in a nod to the fact that they were part of the former Yugoslavia. Then they were just Macedonia, but they fell out with Greece about that because there's an area of Greece called Macedonia, and now they are North Macedonia in order to make sure that people recognise them as a separate entity.
How many countries are in a country? Well, congratulations, North Macedonia. I know who you are now, and you were terrible because you lost to Austria 3-1. Isn't that right, HG? You come on then. You tell me how great Austria are.
Well, look, Austria have a set of decent players, and today was pretty much, I think, close to their best team that they could have picked. So Arnautovic probably would have started for me, but he came on and scored the third. And yeah, they're not a bad side at all. I was interested to see Alaba kind of start as the central of the three in defence, but they've got some decent players who play regularly in the top leagues, and so they may not have the strength of depth with others, but they certainly have quality. And I think the first Austrian goal was really, really good. It was a fantastic pass from Savitzer, and the wing back liner got in and just volleyed it into the corner, made it look very simple, even though it wasn't. So, yeah, 1-1. Obviously, the equaliser wasn't so great from an Austrian point of view. A bit kamikaze, really, at the back. But, yeah, they got the job done. And so I think Austrians can go, they're very happy tonight because, in theory, they're now 3 points ahead of their biggest rivals for second spot. So they almost have a bit of a free hit against Holland in the next game.
Sound good. Seb, do you know much about Austria?
Not obviously not as much as HG, but I think he's doing himself a bit of a disservice really because he's been banging on for ever since I've been on the pod about a chap called Konrad Leiner, who I haven't seen much of, but obviously saw him today for Austria, and he scored that first goal. He was fantastic. Have I got the wrong guy?
Got the wrong guy.
That's worse than me not knowing where North Macedonia was.
There is a Stefan Leiner. He's the fullback who scored. And there is Konrad Laimer with an M, who plays in central midfield and looks like the prototype footballer. So, yeah.
Are we live? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. We're very, very, very live. We're very
Can't
live.
scrap it or anything. Got completely the wrong guy.
If I'm being really honest, it's 10 o'clock at night. No one's going to watch this.
Well,
It's
I'll tell you
fine.
something. What's even worse about that is that I put that on the Patreon chat and no one corrected me. So thanks, guys.
Brilliant. Worth every penny you are, Seb. Worth every penny. I'm just glad.
Pennies. Who's
I'm
getting
just
paid
glad
for
that
this?
you made my cock up look okay. You know? Well, let's not dwell on Austria or North Macedonia or any of that, because there are a couple of other games today. So the Netherlands, when I wrote my notes, they were 2-0 up, and then they ended up winning 3-2. HG, did you see much of the game?
Yeah, I watched the entire Dutch game. They were 2-0 and cruising, basically. At half-time it was 0-0, but they got a couple of goals early in the second half. 2-0 and cruising. Frank de Boer decides to take off two of their back five. We don't really know why. And then suddenly within 10, 15 minutes, Ukraine had scored twice, and you knew that with 10 minutes to go, it was going to be quite a good game. But yeah, actually, the whole game was quality. It was a good game to watch. Holland had most of the ball, but Ukraine looked pretty good on the counter attack, and the passing was crisp. And yeah, and Holland were probably maybe a bit fortunate to come away with the win at the end. But yeah, I think that was, to me, it was the best game of the tournament so far. Two sides that were good on the ball and couldn't defend. So that's what you want to see as a neutral, right?
Absolutely. Seb, any comments on the Dutch game before we move on to the main event of today?
Not especially. You're going to try and put me in a spot where I say something else.
I'm not. I mean, Franco's doing that. He apparently just wanted to make a tit of you. Sorry, Seb. It was his comment. Yeah. Okay.
In what I saw of the game, I was impressed with Dumfries. He got into good positions, the right wing back for Holland. But I wasn't that impressed with. I know he scored, but with Weghorst, who I know has been linked at times with Spurs.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was anything much than a big unit. Not what you actually used to seeing the Dutch play with. So a little bit different for them. When the team sheet came out for Holland, I wasn't impressed at all. But I think they actually looked decent. I think they've been under pressure, or De Boer's been under pressure to play four at the back. The whole of the Dutch media wants to see them play four at the back, and he stuck to his guns and played five. And until they made the defensive substitutions, I thought they looked pretty good. So I don't know what the big clamour is for them to change the system. I don't understand why. There's apparently a plane flew over their training ground yesterday saying play four at the back. Very random. But they looked okay to me.
Oh, there was England, wasn't there? A plane flying over the England camp saying Croatia attacked down the right or something this week as well. Or
Down the left.
Yeah, right, left, whatever.
Depends which way you were viewing the plane.
Exactly. Depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Really. But the bottom line is that who's hiring all these planes out? I mean, have people got nothing else to do with the money? It's got to be 20 grand easy to hire a plane and do that, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, some comments coming in. JC McLean, hello, friend. Caller Sabitzer is getting close to being good enough to play for Spurs now, isn't he? I've got no issue with Sabitzer. Is that directed at you, HG?
I think it might be. Yeah, I've said it plenty of times. Sabitzer has always looked a bit like a headless chicken to me, but he's obviously done much better in the last few years at Leipzig. And yeah, with 1 year left on his deal, he could easily come to Spurs. I'd certainly rather have him than people like Lamella and Lucas. I just don't think he's going to be the solution to the problems that Spurs have. I think he'll be part of a better team, but he can't do it all by himself.
Well, we'll talk about Spurs in all due time, but not too much of that. Hopefully, I don't want to be going on till midnight.
There was a player today that I would love to see at Spurs who is out of contract.
Who's that?
Memphis Depay.
Oh yeah, we'd all like to see Depay, but he's going to Barcelona, isn't he?
I don't know. Do you know that? I don't know. Well, I'll do everything I could to try and get him.
Rumoured. Obviously, if you speak to Daniel Levy, you shouldn't listen to anything that's rumoured. But I'm pretty sure that he. It was fairly well known, I think, that he's in discussions with Barcelona. So we'll see on that one. But I agree with you, great player, and would love to see him at Spurs.
There's certain players who have that. Sorry,
go on, Seb. You go first.
There's certain players who have that kind of joy de vivre, if you like. I think Grealish is one. Depay's one. He doesn't probably know what he's going to do when he gets the ball half the time, and it just. But I just like watching players like that who, they light up the game, pretty much whatever they're doing. And he was great in what I watched tonight at the Holland game and what I've seen of him previously in the season for Lyon. He's the type of player. We need that spark. It's not even a creative spark. It's that will to win. That kind of just try anything, and see if it comes off.
Yeah.
And like I say, the two players I can think of the most who do that are Grealish and Depay. Well, Grealish is well out of our means, but I don't know if Depay is or not.
Let's get through some more of these. Lucas, you just want to upset me, Lucas, by making me pronunciate Austrian names. Schlager
Very good.
or Liner. Man of the match for me, worked hard at both ends of the pitch. Solid performance from both.
Xaver Schlager plays in midfield for Austria and looks a bit like a die-hard villain. He's got this, long blonde hair that's kind of tied back, and he does like one of the villains in Die Hard for sure. But
I like that.
he's a quality player for Wolfsburg in Germany, and he plays in central midfield with the other Lima with Connie. He's a really good player. Again, Stefan Leiner, the fullback that he mentioned, is just a really hard-working player. Like he's the type. He's kind of like Soufal at West Ham, where you think, he doesn't do anything particularly special, but he gives everything all the time. And there's a number of Austrian players. I mean, Leiner, I think, is one of them who wasn't really playing professional football until his early 20s, and now plays every game at Gladbach and is doing really well. So. As I said, Austria have some decent players. They may not have the strength in depth, but they're certainly eons better than they were when I moved here. I mean, the difference between the 2008 side that only qualified as hosts and the one that we have now, they are night and day. It's not just Alaba. They have some quality players.
Well, there you go. And Greg Anderson just talking about Alaba. He's clearly a very good player, but the fact Seb, where you gone? Come back, man. The fact that Madrid are going to pay him 500k a week just tells exactly why they are in financial ruin. Agreed. Not that we would know all about that being in financial ruin. And then that's up to date with the comments. So we'll move on. We'll get past both these games, and we'll speak about England, which is what I want to talk about, because that's the game I watched from start to finish. Seb, any surprises in the starting 11 from you?
Well, it was rumoured, obviously, that Trippier was going to start at left back, which was, I think, surprised quite a few people.
Why do you think that is, by the way?
Southgate's loyal to his players and players that perform well for him. I think we see that with Pickford, who is miles better in an England shirt than he is in an Everton shirt. Trippier's never let him down. He's never put in a bad performance for England. He's tournament experienced. He was the right back of the 2018 World Cup, and I think he wanted Kyle Walker there for his pace, which you can understand, especially playing next to Stones and Mings, who no slouches, but Walker is the pace man there. And so if there's an opportunity to put Trippier in, he's found a way. It just makes me question why you would have two left backs in your squad if your intention was to play Trippier there in the first place.
Well, it's a bit strange.
That's the only strange. Apart from that, I was pretty okay with the team. I mean, I would have maybe had Cody in instead of Mings, only based on Mings' two previous games for England where he looked shocking.
Yeah,
but obviously that was
for my money. But
you say that, but they both perform. I mean, Mings was one of the better performers today. I thought he was outstanding. And Trippier again, you couldn't look at Trippier and say he let anyone down. He played well. I did wonder whether he was there for his set pieces, but he only had one free kick.
Yeah,
he took one free kick. Didn't take the corner. Mount took the corners. So I don't know. But there was no one you can't question the decisions that Southgate made based on the performances today.
Well, HG, do you agree with that? I don't, but we'll I'm hosting, so I'll hand it to you.
I think Southgate said before the game that he picked Trippier to play left back because with Maguire out, he wanted a bit more experience on that side of the defence. Because I don't know how many games Mings has played for England, but it's probably less than 10. So you can understand a little bit from that perspective. But look, I'm not going to lie. I don't think Trippier at left back is part of the best team that England can play. So it worked today against a Croatia side that we all know what they can do when they're given the opportunity. They weren't given the opportunity today, and that was down to the way that we played. But yeah, look, even with Sterling, I don't really think he should be part of the best 11.
We're going to get to him in a minute, so just part that there.
I think the biggest thing for me today, they talked on BBC's coverage, which is what I watched on, and they talked about how Phillips was playing ahead of Declan Rice, and that Rice was really the more defensive of the two, and Phillips had a bit of a free run. And we don't see him do that for Leeds, right? Because usually he's the one who sits, and it's the four other midfielders that are bombing up and down the pitch for Leeds. He surprised, I think, everyone today with how well he played, Calvin Phillips.
He's excellent.
And not just for the assist, which was extremely good. I mean, we got to say that. Like, if Mason Mount had done it, we'd be hearing about it for days. So Calvin Phillips has made himself more likely to stay in the side. I mean, if Henderson gets back fit, are we going to play Henderson now? I'm not sure we should. So from Phillips's point of view, I think he's really made himself far more important to the side. And yeah, if Henderson does get a bit fitter and comes in, I suspect that he won't deserve it. So like I don't think we had our best team out there. I think even players like Kane were pretty ropey. But you can't argue with the fact that we won the first game. I mean, that's how often do we do that, really? I mean, I don't remember us happening too often. I think we won the first game in the World Cup
it's
of
never happened in
2018.
Euros, I don't believe. So,
Well, there you go. And even when we beat, was it like Panama or someone, Trinidad? I don't know who it was in the last World Cup. Tunisia. It was a last-minute goal, right, from Kane to win the game. So for us to do it in a manner that was a bit more convincing against a much better side, it can only be good.
I've got to be honest, I never felt the result was in doubt after we scored, and they looked pretty assured throughout the game. I think, opening flurry in the first 15 minutes, we were chatting before the show, I think heat maybe took its toll on the pace of the game because it did become a lot slower. Couple of takeouts. So firstly, obviously Sterling got the goal. I was surprised by his inclusion, if I'm being really honest, because he's not featured as heavily for Manchester City this season. And Grealish has been fantastic, really, in the warm-up games. I'm sure we'll see more of Grealish as the tournament goes on. But Sterling, Seb, did he confound the critics today, or was it a goal and a bit of a ropey performance?
No, I thought he played well. He was making the runs where he was being found slightly over the top. Croatia looked shit scared of him, actually. There was a few times. He got in behind. He set Foden up for the one that hit the post. I thought he did absolutely fine. As I've just said, I'm a huge Jack Grealish fan. He gets you on the edge of your seat, and that's what I like when I'm watching football. But I thought Sterling did great today, and I thought Foden was the one that he played very well, but he tired very quickly. Yeah. And obviously he got taken off, I think, for Rashford. But, let's not pretend. England have got some fantastic options, to be able to talk, as HG's done, about if Phillips now keeping his place and does Henderson come in. Obviously, Bellingham came on today and did fine. You've got Rashford on the bench. You've got Grealish on the bench. There are a lot of options for England. Sancho didn't even make the bench.
On the bench.
Yeah, but Sancho didn't even make the bench today.
No.
So there are a lot of options. If he can keep that squad together, as it appears that he does do, the team spirit seems to be fantastic. At the end, with all the players coming on the pitch, if he can keep that together, I said before when we were chatting before we went live, the Scotland game's massive now because if you win that, England are through. So it gives the opportunity in the Czech Republic game to rest players, give players 45 minutes, even an hour. I mean, I didn't realise this 5 subs thing. So there's the opportunity to give players minutes into their legs or rest certain players, and that could be crucial going if we want to go further into the tournament.
Yeah, sure. And Harry Kane today, actually, I was waiting for the commentators to sort of say Harry Kane's off it. He's obviously got a lot on his mind, being moving on this summer. But I didn't hear too much of that on the BBC's coverage. He had an off day today, though, from a Spurs perspective, didn't he, HG?
Like we all know what he's capable of. He didn't show it today. I think with Kane, I mean, we've also seen this with Spurs. Like, Kane is much better when he at least has someone to play off, and I don't think that he and Sterling have ever really hit it off at international level. They were, in effect, the front two today. There was no one else that were really making runs from deep. Foden tried to get more involved in the second half, but as Seb said, after the first 20 minutes, faded. So, I think that there's certainly some places that we can help the side and we can help Kane improve and get more into the game. Maybe the Scottish game is a better example, a better chance for that to happen, because the Croatia's defence, as it was 3 years ago, is not the strength of their side, right?
No.
So they do play somewhat defensively, but the strength is in midfield, and we kind of nullified that today. Whether it was Mount and Rice and Phillips and Foden, like with so many people, even Kane dropping deep, it made it really difficult for them. So if Southgate changes the side, which he could do for the next game, and says, right, like this game is that team was for the Croatia game, and the next game will have a different 11 start, and we'll see what we can do, then great. Because I do think that the team we saw today and the performance that we saw today can be improved upon. The question is how you get there, and unfortunately, with the Chelsea, Man United, and Man City boys not being available for the friendlies, we're almost having to do it on the fly. It's not an easy job for Southgate, but if you come away with the 3 points, none of us can really complain. It's just about trying to find the best balance, because part of me thinks it's Grealish or Foden, and given what I saw today, I'd like to see Grealish start. I don't think he'll play any worse than what Foden did today. When it comes to Sancho, I don't know. I just think that if the defence is solid enough, and Walker had a few brain farts today, but if we do all right and we get people like Maguire back, then you never know what will happen. There aren't too many sides in the tournament who have a set 11 and look like they know what they're doing. There just won't be. And so for England, if they can sort that out quickly, make sure the qualification is secured, and then we've got a last 16 match to really focus on. But opening day win, it's always good.
Can I just add, in terms of Harry Kane?
Yes.
And we're talking about what can others do to help him? I think he needs to help himself a little bit more. I thought he was pretty bad today. And there were a number of occasions where we got the ball forward. He wasn't even in the picture. And it's a bit of a gripe I have with him at Spurs, where I know he's been playing this new role, mainly under Mourinho, where he drops back in and he dictates the play. But he didn't do that today. He just wasn't in the picture. There was the one where Foden hit the post, which came from a throw-on. He was almost in a defensive midfield position. Now, I know there'll be instructions for him to drop in and to occupy the Croatian midfield, and England actually did a very good job today of flooding that midfield when the ball was kind of knocking about in the centre circle, if you like. There were bodies in there to make sure Croatia couldn't do anything with it. Particularly, I was going to say, you would have expected it around Modric, but actually it was more around Brozovic. Modric was actually given a little bit more space, but they really crowded Brozovic. But Kane failed for me. There was 2 or 3 occasions. For instance, when the ball came back off the post, you would hope that Kane would be there. He wasn't even in the area. He was 25, 30 yards away. And there was another occasion as well where I can't remember who it was now. It might have been Calvin Phillips. It was the Calvin Phillips shot. He wasn't in shot, Kane. So there's.
Well, there was also
also
when he collided with the post, and I would have put money on him to finish that chance. That's the kind of chance that is his bread and butter normally. and thankfully he's not too. Hopefully, a few bruised ribs, but nothing broken. But you'd have expected him to score that. So I just thought generally his game was a bit off. Having said all of that, I'm sure he'll get better as the
Yeah, of
as the
course.
tournament progresses. He doesn't have too many bad games normally, does he? So
It was good to see Southgate make the changes as well, where Kane actually came off.
He looked surprised to come off.
Yeah, but fair play to Southgate, and he fiddled it round at the top so that we had the pace at first with Rashford, and then he brought Calvert-Lewin on late on to kind of hopefully hold it up a little bit and kind of slow the play down. So fair play to Southgate for making those calls.
I like this comment. Kane has to leave England if he wants to win trophies. There you go.
It's a fair point.
Would you tinker with anything against Scotland, Seb? Or, in fact, you're having a drink. HG.
No.
Look, I would change a few things. Like, I don't think we need to see Trippier at left back. I think that when it comes to the bigger games, which we hope to see at some point in this tournament, we're going to need to have people people in the right position. So, look, obviously Scotland, it's a massive game for Scotland. This is like, Spurs West Ham. It's their cup final. It's going to mean the most to them. So yeah, like I wouldn't want to change too much, but as we've heard before, like we're going to be playing every 3 or 4 days, hopefully after a long season where we've been playing 3 or 4 days. It's I think we're going to need to freshen things up a little bit. So maybe a new left back. Like if Trippier ended up playing on the right hand side, I would be okay with that. I just think you've got to move things up a little.
We've got good left backs though, haven't we, HG? That's the thing.
Yeah, I think Shaw and Chilwell would have done just as well as Trippier did today, right? And Trippier didn't play badly; he played well. He didn't do anything wrong. But I just don't think that there were a couple of occasions when Trippier, went bombing down the outside and had to cut back because he just wasn't comfortable using his left foot. And if you're a defender and you know that, it makes it just so much easier to do something. We saw in the Austria game with the Austria second goal. It was a perfect left foot cross from Alaba that led to it. Like if you've got that quality in delivery from all over the pitch, then you can cause damage. And every time a fullback cuts back, it gives everyone a chance to reset. So yeah, it's he's got a couple of decisions, but I don't think too much really needs to change. I think that I would personally like to see Grealish come in for Foden, as I said. It's weird having seen the friendly games. Part of me feels like England need to decide how they want to play, right? If they want to play with a true old school number 9, then maybe Calvert-Lewin is the person to do that. If they want to have their number 9 drop deep, which Kane obviously likes to do and is capable of doing, and Kane is a better player than Calvert-Lewin, there's no doubt about that. But if you want to do that, then the rest of the team has to be aware of it, has to be able to play that system too. If you've got the pace of Rashford on one side or the pace of Sterling or Sancho or whoever it is, that makes sense. I think as we saw today, we couldn't play that way if it's Grealish and Foden next to Kane. It wouldn't work. So look, we've got options. I think it's just, without wanting to be too negative, it just feels like now is not the time to be finding out what those options are. And that we had an obvious starting 9 or 10, which I don't know if we do. So, but yeah, like I think the Scotland game, they'll almost certainly go 3-4-3 with Tierney as the left-sided centre back and Robertson as the left wing back. That's going to pose us a few problems with Robertson having the pace he does. Walker would almost certainly keep his place, but we could make 3 or 4 changes and. I don't think that the level of the team, the performance level, should go down too much. I think that we're all capable of giving 6s or 7s, but what we want to do is find a team that functions as a 9, even when players are only giving 7s or 8s.
Well, I mean, the reason I hate Scotland, by the way, so much, just to clarify, it's a lovely place. I don't hate the place. I don't hate the people. What I really hate is being reminded that you won a game against us in the 80s. Yeah. No one cares. No one cares. So if we lose to Scotland, it will just be hell. It will just be hell to be an Englishman in this country for the next year. 10 years. 20 years. So we cannot lose that match. That's what I'm saying. We cannot lose that match. Start all the defenders if you have to. We can't lose. It's not going to happen.
So you take a 0-0 if we had 10 defenders on the pitch.
I'll be honest, that's not what I want to see, obviously. But actually, a draw wouldn't be a disaster for us against Scotland now from that opening game. It's good. They've really taken the pressure off with that victory today. So I think we should all be big pat on the back to Gareth Southgate, maybe future Tottenham manager, and looking forward to the tournament progressing. Looking ahead, obviously tomorrow there's Scotland versus Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, and Spain, Sweden. Oof, which one of those are you licking your tongue in anticipation of, Seb?
I want to see the Scotland match. There's for no other reason than I want to see what we're up against in the group with our two other rivals. I'll keep an eye on the others. I've got to say, out of all the games that have been on so far, the one that I'm kind of least fussed about is the Poland game. No amazing interest in that. It'd be interesting. It will be interesting to see Spain because obviously they've had a lot of upheaval and a squad without Real Madrid players. COVID going through the camp, etc. So it'd be interesting to see because it's weird to think that Spain, obviously two-time previous winners, relatively recently, are some people's dark horses. That it's a little bit odd, but that is the case. So it'd be interesting to see how they come together. But yeah, more than anything, I want to see how Scotland and Czech Republic line up. I think we will change things. Going back to your previous question, I think we will change things for Scotland because I do feel like Southgate will set up a team to counter other teams' opposition strengths. And as HG said, with the Robertson and Tierney situation, that is their strength down that side. So I could see Trippier and Walker playing, but Trippier moving over to the right hand side and maybe a different formation. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Scotland do tomorrow.
Hopefully not a lot. That'd be nice. Right, looking at some Spurs stuff very briefly, if we may, because we're 32 minutes in, so we've got a strict 10-minute deadline of this stuff. So first and foremost, thoughts goes Christian Eriksen, and glad, absolutely fantastic that he's recovering well now, hopefully from what we hear in hospital. Awful scenes. Hence, we didn't put a show out last night. Hope everyone understands why. So fantastic, he's getting better. But what else happened yesterday in the world of Spurs? We made a couple of announcements. So we've now got a director of football, and Daniel Levy gave one of those cringeworthy TV broadcasts, actually YouTube broadcasts, talking about all things Spurs. Where do we start with this? Paratici, Seb, what do you think of Paratici's appointment?
Well, if it takes football decisions away from Daniel Levy, then I'm all for it. But we don't know if that's going to happen. If it takes decisions away from Steve Hitchin, I'm all for it. But we don't know if that's going to happen. So it's a bit of a weird menage a trois, really, because who is actually going to be responsible for decision making, for transfers, for the ins, the outs? If Paratici comes to Levy and says, "I've got, I can get this player. This is what he wants. These are the wages." Levy's still making that decision, and Levy could just say no. So it's going to be. I think I like it if it works to how we as fans would all want it to work, but Levy's power hungry. He runs everything. He built the stadium. He built the club. The team that we've got now, he makes the decision.
He didn't build the club. Let's just correct that.
No, but he built what's there now. Certainly, everything that is there now has been Levy's decision for right or wrong. So if someone else is going to come in, are they making decisions now, or are they just making the first decision before Levy gets the final decision?
Well, I suppose does that depend who you believe, really? Because he's managing director of football operations, and he's responsible, as Daniel Levy said in his little video, for every footballing decision. hiring, firing, transfers, etc., etc.
But he won't be, will he? He won't be
Well,
because the money, the
well, I
money is
guess he
Daniel
will.
Levy's.
I guess the answer to that, Seb, is he will be within a budget. So it's like any business, any big business. You have a wage budget of, whatever a year, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million a year. There's your budget. Spend it how you want to spend it. You're the managing director. There's your transfer budget every season. There's 100 million. So from the perspective of Daniel Levy, that means he's in effect passing the football reins over. So surely that not
that's
make
what we
sense to you?
that's what we hope, right? I mean, that is what we hope. Like, I don't think anyone has any faith in Daniel Levy's football acumen. We've all seen it in the documentary. We all know that the types of things
Harry
he
Winks.
says. Yeah, like he just doesn't seem like a football fan. And to be fair to Levy, I mean, when they bought the club, he came out in an official program and said he didn't really grow up a football fan. He went to games because that was the team, but it wasn't really his. It's not his passion. It's not his hobby. It's not really something he's ever really thought about. It's just that now, weirdly enough, it is a chance to make money. I hope that Mr. Paratici has a very good book of contacts. I suspect it's much bigger than Macclesfield Town legend Steve Hitchens. So yeah, like I don't want to say I'm cautious. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that things are going to work. We've been linked with a couple of players. Let's just hope that Levy has recognised that maybe that's where the limitations are. Yeah, it is tough. I like you, Caller. I do think that he's got a budget to work with. As to whether Levy really signs off, who knows? But I think that we're clearly trying to shift a number of our players. That will free up wages. That will bring in some transfer fees. We know that Foyt's already gone. We get some money for Marcus Edwards thanks to that sell-on clause. So
You've got Bale off the books as well. I mean, that's 300 grand a week straight away.
There you go. And so, like, there is going to be money there. But when Levy talks about spending money, he doesn't mean, his own personal fortune. I think we're going to go back to how we were while the stadium was being built, where we were basically spending what we were earning. I don't, like, if the stadium's open and making the money that we know it can, then things will change. But because it isn't, and we don't know when it really will, we have to go back to how things were. And as I said, I don't mind that as long as the person making those decisions is competent. And none of us think really that Hitchin and Levy are. So if Paratici is an improvement, and we hope he is, then it's only a good thing.
Well, still no manager, Seb.
No, still no manager. For about, I don't know, maybe for about 3 days, I was excited checking the news to see who it would be, and now it's not that I'm beyond caring. It's I haven't got any more energy to spend thinking about it. Really, I do think we've become a bit of a laughing stock. It was obvious that. Well,
we've always been a laughing stock, haven't we?
I wouldn't go that far. I love my club, and I always will, and I always like to think that the best decisions are being made for people like you and me. But over the last year, 18 months, I don't think that's been the case at all. It's not that I'm out of love with Tottenham, but I don't think there's part of me that thinks it doesn't matter who the manager is now. I think the players have too much power, that we could get a manager in and within 6 weeks the players could decide that he's not for them. And I know you're looking at me a little bit odd, but that is truly how I feel. It kind of doesn't matter. I think we saw it with Ryan Mason. It didn't matter. It wouldn't matter if it was him. It wouldn't matter if it was Ledley King. There's coaches in the background who put in some of the hard yards with the players. If the players are happy, they'll play well. If they're getting a day off, they'll play well. And if they're not, if someone annoys them like Mourinho did, and Mourinho was a prat, there's no two ways about that. But if they decide that they don't want to play for the new guy, whether it's Fonseca, Conte, Guardiola, whoever you care to mention, if they decide they don't want to play, that's it. And it doesn't matter what me or you think. This guy might come in, he might show them some new tactics, and everything might be great for 3-4 weeks, 3-4 months, 3-4 years. Who knows? Because honestly, that's how I feel about it. We were disillusioned perhaps when Pochettino came in. Some of us wanted Mourinho in. I was one of them. I thought I thought it was a guaranteed trophy. That's why I was behind it. Now I am at the point. Levy has tried everything. Yeah, he's tried every single managerial option you can point a stick at. Whether it's Sherwood, AVB, Ramos, Martin Yol, Santini, Hoddle. He's gone from legend to proven European winner to trophy winner to club icon. The lot. He's tried it all. None of it's worked. None of it matters, because if the players don't want to play, the players don't show up. That's all that matters. And there's two things that count. Do the players want to play, and who do we get in that can make a difference? And so far, we've failed on both of them pretty much for the last 20 years.
Well,
Sorry, someone keeps texting me and it keeps nudging my phone.
That's the bottom line, though, isn't it? That we've appointed the wrong coaches, because we've had a lot of different players over the last 20 years. It's not like people who were here 20 years ago are still in the squad now.
But Pochettino was hired and everything was great until the players stopped playing for him. Sherwood annoyed the players stopped playing for him. Mourinho annoyed the players stopped playing for him. As soon as the players decide they've had enough, that is it. And that's not just Spurs. That's it in football. We saw it under Lampard at Chelsea.
Surely the point is, Seb, surely the point is hire a coach who inspires and motivates the players to want.
But for how long? Because
perform.
coaches last 18 months, 2 years, and then everyone gets bored and everyone has to move on. It's why Chelsea are successful, because they recognise that. They pay the guy off and get a new guy in. Start it all over again.
Well, we need to do that then, don't we?
I think as far as Spurs are concerned, right? Like we all talked about this painful rebuild. Pochettino said it himself. The reason why the rebuild is so painful is because we had a good team, but Pochettino surely knew that team wasn't going to stay together for that much longer. He knew that Eriksen had already said he wanted out. He'd seen Walker leave. He'd seen Rose make intimations that he wanted to go. So there is this constant change. So like if you take the Liverpool side right now, like, obviously, they've had a really good run the last 3-4 years. So getting 97 points and almost winning the league. They won the Champions League. They ended up winning the Premier League anyway. They're at the end, I think, of that cycle, and they've got some important decisions to make. And does that mean selling Mane or selling Salah? I think Firmino could be the first one to go, but they're already in that way. Like, I think they signed Diego Jota basically because they know they have to keep things fresh. They have to change things. And so like Liverpool are basically where we are, but I would imagine they're going to learn from our mistakes. We tried for too long, right? And we spent money on squad players that never really had a chance to usurp the best team. And so we got worse. I mean, there's no doubt we got worse. And it was a lot of it was just because of the decisions that, Pochettino made or the club made of keeping players for longer than we really should have. We all know that with Eriksen, as great as he was for Spurs, when he wants out, then at least the latest time is a year left. And we waited another 6 months because we were trying to get some magical fee that no one was willing to pay. At some point, you just have to bite the bullet. That I think is the issue. Had our forward planning been a bit better, had Alderweireld left when we all thought he was going to, then maybe Juan Foyth would have played more games for Spurs, the games that he ended up playing for Villarreal and ended up moving there. There are so many variables, but it's about getting those decisions right. And sadly, we haven't. We haven't got them right.
I mean, somewhere in a parallel universe, Roberto Soldado was a fantastic hit at Spurs.
Yeah, but it's not really that. It's just understanding that any good team, even the best ones under Ferguson, they had a 4 or 5 year shelf life. And after that, he was trying to move people on, whether it was because they got a bit too big for their boots or whatever, but he was trying to reinvent. We've seen in football, there's all this reinvention. It used to be 4-2-3-1 was the fad, then it went 4-3-3, and now we're seeing lots of 3-4-2-1s as people try to navigate the system as whatever the best teams play and work against it. So I think with Spurs, look, like none of us like the fact we don't have a manager. But to me, the biggest thing about this summer was making sure we have a 15 or 20 that are built to work together for the next 3, 4, 5 years. That to me is the key. Yeah. Obviously, we want to keep our best players, but there are lots of players that are approaching the end of their careers, or maybe they're ending their prime. They're not in Spurs' plans to be first teamers, and they're the ones that need to go. It's just about using your brain. Like any company, as far as I'm aware, if the workers are not happy, there is a problem. And if you say the players are the workers, then it's the management's task to keep them happy. Mourinho's tactics don't keep defenders happy because they're overworked, and they don't keep attackers happy because they're 70 yards from what they want to be doing. That's a massive problem, right? And if you don't have the results, the problem exacerbates very quickly, which we saw. As soon as the results went south, everyone started getting, falling out with Mourinho because Mourinho was changing things and falling out with people left, right, and centre. But crucially, what had changed is that the tactics hadn't worked. And I think the players know, like anyone knows, if you spend most of your time defending, the odds are that you that you won't score the goals that you need. So, yeah, I don't know, but I think that there is a certain sense of a new start this summer. Hopefully, Paratici can work his magic and get a few deals in, and we build the next great Spurs team, because that's what we all want to see.
Absolutely. And what we don't want to see is Gareth Southgate joining us at the end of the Euros. And that's all from the Cheese Room this evening. 45 minutes. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe, and check out our Patreon channel as well. Goodbye from me. Seb, do you want to say a few words?
No, I think we've covered everything. Sorry that my phone keeps slipping. Someone's texting me, and every time they text, my phone would slip down. So I do apologise for that. Not very professional. Not like you, caller, with your whole studio in your man cave.
I mean, I'm in Studio A at the moment. Studio B is being set up downstairs for the Euros. So yeah, I might get to broadcast from it eventually. But yeah, and goodbye from you, I guess. HG, anything you want to say?
I just want to say thank you to all the people that are watching, because we do this for you guys. Football is our life. It's yours. We clearly care a lot about it. And we want to see our countries, whether it's England, Scotland, Austria, wherever, we want to see them play well. We want to see good football. That's the beauty of an international tournament. You've got summer nights. Like, I'm super excited for the Scotland game tomorrow because I finish work at 2. The game starts at 3 my time. I know where I'm going. I know I'm going to be sitting in a pub watching the game in hopefully some decent weather. Like, that's what life is about. So, yeah, thanks to everyone for watching. And, yeah, come on, you England and Spurs and Holland and Austria.
And don't forget to subscribe. Cheers.